Long before there were stingers up, it was Hornets for life, right? We're going old school
Yes,
and old and the new with Bobby Fresques, the offensive coordinator at Sac State. How's it going, young man?
going well. Yeah, the end of the week, and looking forward to getting back on the field tomorrow and avenge that loss from last week.
Hey, what just hit you in the face? What was that?
My dog's tail, Teddy. This,
Well, since you showed the tail, let's show the face.
oh
Come
my
on now. Wave the
goodness!
face.
This is Teddy. He's a Australian Doodle, and these dogs they don't have a mean bone in their body, and they don't know parameters in space either. So they are always in your face trying to love you up.
You know some people like that, don't you?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
family.
yeah, we all have. Hey, one thing someone told me about dogs I love so much, especially rescue, they say what happens really is that they rescue us.
Yes. No, it's awesome to come over to this guy because he is always happy to see me,
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah, you could lose a tough game at Idaho and he's still there for you.
Yes, exactly. They're a lot like children, and before they get too old to, get set in their.
Hey, Bobby's the OC at Sac State. Hey, what's it mean for you, coach, to have this kind of success at a place that you played back in the 90s? I mean, you're old school Hornets. I mean, you raise your family there, and to do this in your community like this.
I love it. Everybody likes to see their universities do well, and it's a sense of pride, and you get to talk about them and boast about them, and the success that we've had. It hasn't gone unnoticed. And the last 3-4 years, it's kind of been the talk of Sacramento. We're trying to be the pride of Sacramento. So it's nice to have that success because now it creates a lot of conversations with a lot of people around town, and then that draws up a lot of interest in fan support. Each week you go to our games and you see 14, 15,000 people, and depending on the game, you never know. Probably about 20,000, depending on who we're playing.
Hey, within the program, we kind of talk about the last couple of years. Hey, maybe Hornets can make a run, go deep into the playoffs, and that'd be pretty cool. Mark Orris said, "Hey, we want to go to the next level. We want to contend for a national championship." The coaches have talked about it, so it's not like we're keeping it inside anymore. The bar's being raised about what the program's trying to do.
It is, and if you think about it, we're a top 10 team in the country. I mean, we've established ourselves, and that is the next step. You have to go through, the growing pains of getting to the playoffs and getting knocked out and, not getting a win until last year. So now we're getting to the point where we need to start advancing and going deeper into the playoffs because it helps recruiting and it helps us get one step closer to that goal of winning a national championship and bringing a title back to Sacramento.
Hey, I want to talk about your life a little bit. We're going to talk about the team, but also your life. And I remember we had this great halftime show, an interview talking about the legendary Greg Knapp, and we had our shirts on, all gas, no brakes. What did that guy mean to you in your life?
Oh, he was a mentor. He was a friend. We're going to honor him this October 28th for his stair climb held at Sac State on our homecoming versus Idaho State. So I just talked to his wife Charlotte, and they're trying to do a lot of stuff and create awareness with distracted driving. So that foundation is going to continue, and it gets to just put money back into our program because his dream was to help support young coaches who are getting into the field because it's real easy for them to get out of the business if they're not making money or if they're not making headway. So he wants to really see the profession grow, and it's going to help out some of our younger coaches, which is awesome. And just my relationship with Greg, he's one of the reasons why I got into coaching. And then when I take the field and I'm coaching my players, I always will acknowledge the coaching that he gave me and those lessons that I could pass on to my players.
Yeah, I know you told me last year that you still hear his voice.
Oh, I do. Every time, I make a comment in regards to, rush everything but your throw, or let your feet take you through your throw, or it's all about decision making, timing, and accuracy. Those things that he instilled into me that hold true to this day that were passed along to him, from the 49 organization, and working with or indirectly Walsh. So those things hold true, and if you get that play out of your quarterback, you're going to have a chance to succeed on the field.
All gas, no brakes. And here's a guy known as a quarterback whisperer. Since you worked with him, what was it with quarterbacks and his being able to communicate and get the most out of those guys that made him separate from the others?
You know, there's a lot of things, but one of the main things is that he played the position. So he really understood the nuances of what it took, to play the position. And, when you get into coaching, and Coach Thompson's big on this, you want to hire people to coach the position that they played because they really have an understanding of the position and you could relate. So it's like going to a movie with someone and you're able to share, your experience at that movie versus, trying to share the movie experience with someone who didn't go with you. You're trying to tell them about the movie and they really can't relate or they don't understand. So with Coach Knapp having played the position, having gone to the Raiders for many years as a camp quarterback and to the Diners, and then working under people like, Bill Walsh, and then with people like Steve Mariucci and I think Morningwig. He had just incredible experience, and it was just nice to see that he was able to pass that along to us. And now here, and I'm in my 28th year of coaching. I get to pass that along to my players.
Refresh my memory, Bobby, on this anecdote you told me, because you had this great competition with Aaron Garcia back in the day, and you transferred from Wyoming, and there was something that happened. Maybe your job was on the line, but you actually ended up winning the position with some unreal half of football that you played.
Yeah, well, I was the incumbent. I was the returning starter, and then Aaron came in with wealth of experience, and he had a name for himself in Sacramento, and had quite the career up at Washington State until that guy named Drew Bledsoe came in to kind of unseat him. So when Aaron came to town, Coach Matos really wanted to give him an opportunity to see what he could do, and it only made me better. And I used that experience, and I draw from that experience in working with my quarterbacks, because our first year that we got here, we really only had one great quarterback in the room. And then, in Kevin Thompson. So after that spring football, we went and got Jake Dunaway. And then the rest was history. Jake and Ash O'Hara, the two most winningest quarterbacks in Sacramento State history. So you need that competition. Aaron drove me to be my best. Aaron's one of my great friends to this day. And had it not been for him, I don't know if I would have been as good that season. But, since he did come in, we split time the first game. We won 13-6 over Montana State. And then the next game, he got the start, and Coach Matos told Coach Knapp to share with me that if Aaron gets hot, he's going to stay with him. And fortunately for me, we went at halftime down 7-9. And then in the third quarter, we came out. Coach Matos said I was going to get the start. We scored 36 points in the third quarter. We got one more touchdown in the fourth quarter, and then the rest of the night we turned it over to our third string quarterback. And then from that game on, I was the starter the rest of the season.
Now coaching guys, and obviously dealing with guys competing with each other. You had a great battle with Carson Camp and Caden Bennett going into that season, and Caden has the job. Last year you had two guys that were sharing it, one known as a passer, one known as a runner. You got both those guys in one guy in Caden Bennett. What about this young guy and what he brings to the table?
He has an incredible upside. He's very athletic and explosive as a runner. He has great experience as a passer, though, too. So you can't look at Caden as a running quarterback, because he can truly do both. We open up the complete playbook for him, so I don't hold back, in how I call the game with KB, because he can do it all. Last year, the last two seasons, actually, it worked out well with the two quarterbacks kind of rotating, but it was really difficult in hindsight dealing with those things, because Jake ended up becoming like our third down specialist. So then he's going down there on obvious third down situations, which makes it really tough. This year, although Carson Camp, is a heck of a player and adds that value depth to the room, I think that KB, he proved in that first game when they actually did split reps, that he was ready to take that next step forward. So with him, we'd like to see him get into rhythm, give him all the confidence that he needs to go out there and succeed. And then, for some reason, if he doesn't, then we will make a move to Carson Camp. But at this time, he's playing really well. So he has the keys of the car. And as long as he's doing well, he's going to stay in there.
Hey, what did you learn from your time with Coach Taylor offensively? Because he was known as this offensive mastermind and all the different creative things. And when you go down to Stanford and you win that game, you're running double wing at the goal line with reverses. You get the miracle play with Bennett to Fulcher to end it. Really, the go-ahead score in the final minute and a half. I mean, the offense hasn't skipped a beat with Bobby Fresques calling the plays.
I don't think we've skipped a beat, but at the same time, with Coach Taylor, he had been doing it a long time, and he had that control where we had our input, but I think it's a more collective effort this year. Chris Richardson and working with the run game and the short yards and goal line packages, he's doing an incredible job with Coach Prince and Coach LePan helping out in the pass game. It's awesome. So it makes it easier. It's a collaborative effort for sure. And then I'm the one who gets to go out there and call plays, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. But we're still, for the most part, doing what we did in high school, running the same system. And we're going to add our wrinkles, but at the same time, just trying to complete the passes and get first downs.
We were talking about that win the other day, and obviously the theme of family, so important among the coaches, among the team. And then we were talking about your life, and you're going to be a grandfather coming up in November.
Thanks for the reminder.
And you said you've got some experience because you've got a lot of great nephews. You're one of 10 children.
Yes, I have 9 brothers and sisters. My mom comes from a big family. She had 13 brothers and sisters. So with my children, I think my daughter Havana is the 31st grandchild, and my niece Ellie is the 32nd. And then we have something, I believe, like 16 or 17 great grandchildren. And my mom's still able to go and visit and see all these kids.
What did you learn from that time? 10 kids in a 3-bedroom household in Southern California about some of these sports cliches, right? Teamwork, sharing, cooperation, those life lessons.
Well, one good thing with all those siblings is you always had someone to play with. So you didn't have to go down the street and look for friends because there were always people in the house to play with. But with me being the youngest, out of this family and 6 brothers being in the fold, they really mentored me and helped me along the way. My brother Paul was huge in my development as far as making me work out, making me set goals, teaching me about the game. My brother, Pat and Ron and Don, they were all just huge supporters, and they're always someone to, talk to and just express my feelings about the game, whether it was going through ups or downs, highs or lows, they were always there. And to this day, I have huge support from my family. When we go to play Northern Colorado, I'll probably have about 30 family members at the game.
And you can still say all their names.
Order in about 2 seconds.
Yeah,
Mike,
fair.
Pam, Laura, myself, and then my little sister, Kathy.
No, that's an amazing anecdote. Well, I mean, was there a feeling like it was crowded? Like, hey, I got to have my own space? Or, I mean, what was that like for you? And did you think it was out of the normal? I mean, did you know that it was, kind of this weird thing where you have so many kids?
It was my norm. And when we moved from Southern California to Utah, we actually moved into a 6-bedroom home. So, for about 3 or 4 years, there was 12 people in that household. You really don't notice it though until, you have your own family. And then, I'm in a 3-bedroom, actually a 4-bedroom home. Everybody had their own bedroom. And then I had my daughters complain at some point here or then that their room was too small, or, and then I would share experiences about me growing up, but they just couldn't relate. It was like, speaking a foreign language to them.
Do you, as time goes by, appreciate that even more?
I do, because just in today's day and age where, you see things on the internet. You have access to social media, and you know all these things out there to want and to have, and you want it for yourself. My dad used to always say, "You may not have what you want, but you definitely have everything you need." And I think that goes a long ways, because the older I get, the more I become, like my father, or I hear myself sounding like him when I'm talking to my own kids.
Hey, I love talking football with you, but I enjoy life even more. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a special time, and being from such a big family, I get to share, you know, this ride with them. And I remember a long time ago, my sister-in-law Lisa said, with our family being as big as they are, that I was that one figure, because sports was always so important to me, and I went the furthest, as far as playing the sport, where I was kind of like that glue that held everybody together, because everybody was always coming out to support me, coming out to Wyoming games, Sac State games, arena football games down there in San Jose, playing for Coach Arbet, to now as a coach. Like I told you, at that Northern Colorado game, I'll probably have about 30 people at the game.
Hey, when you moved from Wyoming to Sacramento, I know it was very similar in terms of lifestyle, population, winter weather. It was almost identical, right? From Laramie to Sacramento. What was it that brought you to California to play football?
Well, I played in Southern California high school at Damien High School. I got a scholarship to go to Wyoming under first year head coach Dennis Erickson. The unfortunate thing is, 2 weeks after I had signed, he had left to go to Washington State. So I got introduced to Division I football really fast. And then after spending 3 years there, I had 2 years left. And the only way to make a lateral move, uh, to make a move and have immediate eligibility, would be to take a step down. So if I went lateral, I would have had to sit out a year and then only 1 year to play. And I don't think a lot of coaches, look for that in their quarterback position. So at that time, Division II, I had to drop down a division. And the good thing is, a relationship that I had made at University of Wyoming with a guy by the name of Coach Al Roberts. He was at Wyoming for 1 year. We became great friends, and he is from Merced, California, coached many years for the Washington Huskies, and he recruited Stagg High School. And the head coach of Stagg High School was Bob Mattos. So then, when it came time to go into a place, he said, "Where do you want to go?" And as soon as I said California, he said, "I got just the place for you." My good friend Bobby Mattos is the head coach at Sac State. He had a good relationship with them, and the rest is history.
Sac's lucky to have you, and you're good people. I look forward to seeing you at the stadium.
It's been a great ride. It's good to know that both my wife and I are alumni. My daughter Presley graduated from Sac State in 22, and forward to continuing this ride, and make for another Big Sky championship, get into the playoffs, and hopefully make a deeper run this year.
Appreciate you, young man. Stingers up.
All right, hey, I look forward to seeing you next time, and I always appreciate the work you do, Dave.